everybody. Welcome to Destiny Disclosure. And today we have a special guest, ChrisFrancisK.
What's up? What's up? What's up?
And in the middle there is Skill.
What's going on, guys?
And over there on the left is VK from Destiny Dispatch.
Uh,
And since the game came out, I guess first, Bungie and Activision already made their money back. Within 24 hours, they got their 500 million back. So,
Well, I think that has a big part to do with, man, there's nothing else to play right now. You know what I mean? It's like, besides Madden, maybe?
yeah, that
It's
is
just-
true.
It's just the most recent thing to play, especially on the one. You don't have very many things to play right now. So I think everybody's been waiting for this game, you know?
Hmm.
You would think there'd be more midnight release big games for next gen too, and there really hasn't been if you think about it.
Exactly. This was
That's that
huge.
part,
It was the fact that they now the thing is the way they put it was they shipped 500 million. That doesn't mean those 500 million have been bought and purchased, but they shipped it. But they generally wouldn't ship more than what was pre-ordered. So, or not like a ton more than what was pre-ordered for those early access. But
Right.
still, crazy number, crazy number.
So,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
oh yeah, I was just gonna say, just because they sell or ship maybe $500 million worth, doesn't technically mean that that's all profitable. So
Absolutely.
there's still some steps they have to take to obtain their money back.
And that starts with the DLC.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah.
DLC content I can see going directly back to the companies in a much larger profit margin than the actual packaging and the shipping of the physical game. You know what I mean? That's all
Yeah.
nickel and dime kind of stuff. So
Mhm.
I think it starts with the DLC, and I'm sure they're going to set records with that one as well.
Well, speaking of DLC, I noticed, and I don't know if anybody else did, but not all the factions that Bungie came out with are in the game so far. We're missing, what is it, Sans Serif?
Osiris and Seven Seraph.
Yeah, Seven Serif, Sans Serif, that's a font. Oh, well. But yeah, we're missing Osiris and Seven
Seven
Serifs.
Seraphs. Yeah.
So, I'm
Yeah, I
thinking,
definitely see that coming down in the DLC for sure.
yeah, so I'm thinking that possibly the Trials of Osiris is going to be part of the first DLC, and then that's when we'll get introduced to the Osiris faction as well.
Yeah, possibly. I don't know. Maybe because there's some door. There's like a door in the tower that's closed off. So I'm not sure. Besides from the Iron Banner one,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Maybe the Trials of Osiris. It'll just be a vendor, like an Osiris vendor that you can go to for a limited time, kind of like the Iron Banner, maybe.
Well, from what I understand, the actual Trials of Osiris is a PvP event similar to Iron Banner, except you need
An Osiris coin or
yeah,
something.
yeah, you need a special coin to get it, and I believe you have to buy it with Motes of Light, unless they've changed it since the last time I did a video on it. But yeah, you'll get, if you die 3 times, or sorry, if you lose 3 times, then you're out and you
You're
can't compete.
eliminated.
Yeah, you can't compete anymore until you get another coin or another token.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that it's probably gonna be something like that. Like you're saying, that door, I didn't even notice it. It could go over to, I guess, that area, and then you could talk to the Osiris guy, and maybe, like the Osiris vendor or whatever can give you the coin, and then you can talk to the quartermaster, I guess.
Yeah.
I want to make a prediction here. I think the place where the Iron Banner is located, that location is so large, I definitely foresee it being for more things than just Iron Banner. You know what I mean? It seems like
Yeah.
there's little other areas and little tents and things that they're definitely going to implement some other things in that area along with the Iron Banner.
Yeah.
So I definitely can see that being another additional content area.
Yeah. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on the game being, the game coming out? Polygon came out with a review and said it gave Destiny a 6 out of 10. I disagree personally. I think it's at least a 9. I think that the replayability of the missions and the strikes and the raids and the gear grinds make it that much more fun, because it's never the same no matter how many times you do it. Like, we've done, some of them strikes, 20, 30 times, and it's still fun. You kind of know what to expect, but even knowing what to expect, you still will sometimes get caught off guard by, whatever they decide to throw at you. That's, just those minor tweaks that's in, the certain levels, and each time it's never in it. To me, it doesn't seem like it's the same.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. But I think I'd give Destiny, I don't know, probably a 9 too. I feel story-wise, it lacked in story content. Gameplay-wise, it was awesome. But,
Yeah.
I mean, there wasn't enough cutscenes, I feel like, in the story. And I think that's what people were expecting, was a solid story, because, Halo had an excellent story.
Yeah.
So, but gameplay-wise, it's awesome.
Yeah.
See, I have trouble judging Destiny right off the bat, just based on, like, I'm already, like, bought into this 10-year kind of thing. Like, we won't really know the entire storyline for so long that I really didn't expect to, they gave us a taste, I felt, but now they're inspiring us to buy into this 10-year progression that we're going to be going through, and to me, Destiny definitely has satisfied all my needs, like, in what I expected in the game. I was super happy with the download time once we bought the game. The beta took probably 5 times, 6 times as long as just putting the disc in or the digital download. It went pretty swell. And I was definitely happy with that, because there's nothing like buying a game and then having to wait like 4 hours to play it because it's
Exactly.
downloaded. So I was really happy with that. I think we were on by like 12:50 or like.
It was like 12. It was like 12. It was like 12:45.
And like we grinded for 22 straight, 24 straight hours. Moose stayed up longer than I did. I crashed, but overall, it's been a super addicting game. Like and when you get that legendary Ingram or whatever, and taking it back to town, it's so rewarding just picking those up, because you know how rare it is, and you had to work so long to just get one or two. You know what I mean?
It's rewarding to get the legendary engram, and it's disheartening to take it to the cryptarch to get a rare or a green item out of it.
Or something that's even bigger class.
Yeah, you're getting a legendary Titan helmet.
But I definitely foresee them. I found that I've actually gotten more legendaries for classes that I'm not, and I've been putting those in my stash. I think they're implying that you need to build a second character and a third character, because they wouldn't be giving you that gear for no reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then the gear that you have is you can send it to your other character. You just can't send it to a friend. So like all those pieces that I have for a Titan, I can just I guess mail them over to my alt. I guess we'll call it my alt since we're talking WoW terms.
Right.
I honestly do wish Destiny had a trading feature, though. I know some people think, like, okay, you can trade a common for an exotic. No, I mean, like, if you could trade the same, like, level of gear, so, like, an exotic for an exotic, I feel like that would be pretty fair, or a rare for a rare.
Or even have an auction system. That'd be
See,
nice.
those are all things I think the community as a whole needs to ask for. I think Bungie is definitely trying to satisfy the masses to keep the numbers that they've got, and I think if with like a game like Diablo, there's a really easy trade system. It just opens up boxes and you drop whatever item you want in the box. Both of you have to click A, and it just goes, something like that I think would be really easy. And it's not like all of us have a ton of friends and a ton of time to play, so if your buddy picks up something you can use, it'd be awesome that you could both feel like it was useful instead of having to turn it into materials.
Right. Well, it's like today I got a legendary heavy machine gun, and I got the zombie apocalypse, but I already have the zombie apocalypse. The only difference is the archetype's different. Some of the stats were slightly different, and it was kind of a little bit better, but not better enough for me to scrap the progress on the one that I already have to work on the new one. So,
Right.
it's like, if I could give that to somebody, I'd feel better about that than just, dismantling it and wasting a perfectly good legendary. I mean, I can't dual wield them, so.
Right.
But, PvP. I have some issues with PvP, and one of them is that fucking fusion rifle. I swear to God,
You don't like it?
it needs to be nerfed. Like, that is just my opinion. I get tired of getting one-shotted with a fusion rifle.
Well,
Okay.
I think it takes a lot of skill and timing for it. So I think it's a high risk, high reward weapon in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, and that's how I feel with it too. I feel like you have the shotgun, you have the fusion rifle. They're both close quarters weapons. The fusion rifle, you have to charge to shoot. So yeah, sometimes it's a plus and sometimes it's not. If you miss and a guy's running at you with shotgun, you're dead. So shotgun, the plus is you can pull the trigger whenever. But fusion rifle, the plus is you can hold the trigger walking around a corner and then pop him right when he comes around the corner. You know what I'm saying?
Pre-aim, pre-fire. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I kind of had to learn that method the hard way with the bounty on getting fusion rifle sprees in the Crucible, and I struggled with that for so long until I figured out that it's easier to just bait them around the corner and you charge it up and just let them come to you while you're charging it up, waiting. And I found that was a lot better. And but you'll find yourself where you'll die 3 or 4 times in a row trying to get a kill, and then you'll get 5 or 6 kills in a row with it. So I think it's one of those high risk, high reward, more like the hand cannon as well.
Yeah, and I would hate for the community to jump the gun on. I know you're pissed off about the fusion rifles, and I'm pissed off about the shotguns. But if the whole community's like, hey, let's nerf this, let's nerf that, and they listen to that, then we might end up hating the fact that they nerf those weapons. The game might not be as good anymore.
Have that Call of Duty-esque thing where they nerf everything that's good and then something else is great and everybody wants to use that for a while and then they nerf that too. So, I agree. I think we got to figure out the balance within the game, and most of us don't really have the exotics or legendary main weapons yet. And I think that's where we're gonna really see if the game is balanced. Based on those little stats that you do take into the Crucible and whatnot.
I think understanding the Crucible mechanics versus the PvE mechanics is probably going to be the biggest challenge for most people, because most people will just assume what they read on the weapon is what they go into the Crucible with. And, if, like, my scout rifle does 250 damage, if it were to do that in PvP, it would melt people. And especially the lower level people that only have, something like a Sidonia that does like 174. And I think the way that they balance the PvP, I fully don't quite understand it, but I have a good enough grasp to where I can manage, I guess.
Yeah.
The idea that I got is it takes the high number and then the high damage stat and the low damage stat, makes a medium. Everybody has that. And the same with the high armor and the low armor. It takes the medium and everybody has that. That was the notion that I was under. Everybody does the same damage, but if you have more impact on your scout rifle than an auto rifle, at distance you're going to get that kill. You know what I mean? It's based on those kind of stats, not necessarily the damage stats. Because the damage is just brought to the middle. And the same with the armor. So it's really, for PvP, I find that you have to focus on the stats that it gives you, like melee kills get your grenade back faster. That's a really great PvP thing, because you want to be throwing nades and hopefully not getting a ton of melee kills. You're going to be killing a lot more people at distance, but the fact that if you do have to get up close and personal, you're going to get rewarded with a faster cooldown on your nade, which I find that some of those certain stats definitely are better for PvP than they do in PvE.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, I think they should have done a little bit better job explaining how it actually works. Because from what I understand is that all the mod bonuses that you add to your gun, all that's done. I guess not valid, and your level bonuses are invalid, and it's just the raw weapon stats. But they don't exactly show you the raw weapon stats. Like maybe if they would have put in there what the PvE values are, and then if you go to PvP, then it would show you the PvP values. So
Yeah.
you could just have that visual understanding of what exactly you're taking in there, rather than going off of.
No, I think that's a great idea. They might be able to implement that, but if the damages are changing based on the players within the lobby, I can see that being, that's something that would be changing game to game.
Yeah, and
essentially.
Then another thing is we played what was it? The new one.
The new one.
The new map.
Salvage.
Yeah, Salvage. God, why? I couldn't think of it. Yeah, we played Salvage the other day, and I will say that is probably one of the best competitive game modes that I've ever seen across any game, including Halo.
It is pretty fun. I think there's crazy avenues and strategy that you can apply to that game. One time we had a strategy where we actually would let them take it and we would disarm it as fast as possible. And we would just outslay them, just take all three of them out, disarm instantly, let them group up on it, and we did that over and over and over, and we'd win games like by landslides, and we'd only like actually take one salvage point the entire game.
Yeah. So I think between that game, Skirmish, and Control, I could see those three doing really well in an MLG setting.
I've seen a lot of pros playing Destiny, and a lot of high-ranking pros that have only been playing PvP. Like, I believe Parasite's like a 26 right now from Call of Duty, and it's all because he's been playing PvP since the game's come out. Every time I'm on, he's on. It's crazy.
Yep. Yep. I mean, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I mean, that I love competitive multiplayer. That's what I like so much about Destiny. I feel the Crucible is amazing, but we don't have private match. So how is esports MLG going to branch off if we don't get private match? And if they sell us private match in DLC, then people are just going to be furious about that.
I think private matches are going to come in a patch later.
Hopefully.
Because they said, I'm not sure if someone said it in an article I read somewhere, but they were talking about that. They were saying that they're probably going to put private matches in as an update or a patch later. They wanted to make sure that everything in the game they have now functions and works correctly before they start moving into other avenues, as far as, what they need to put in the updates and things like that, which, I can understand. They want to make sure their servers, are staying up, which some people are having server struggles, and you want to make sure the game, and all that works fine before they start, adding things like that. So, I mean, that's understandable. And, the same thing with Titanfall. They didn't add private lobbies right at the beginning, but I think they knew, just like Bungie knows, that they're eventually going to come.
Yeah, but I feel if they throw in private match, I feel this game will open up a whole new, group of people who want to play now, because you have the game battles, the MLG, Optic could hop in on Destiny or any of those pro teams.
Yeah.
I completely agree. I do think it's a downside that they don't have private lobbies with release. I know they couldn't, we knew we weren't getting them, but still, I think you might lose some of the community to a more competitive game that has private lobbies with the release, like the next Call of Duty or something. If we don't have private lobbies on Destiny by then, I'm worried that we might lose that competitive group or that competitive natured player to a new competitive game if they can't implement them quickly.
I can see a lot jumping to Halo, honestly.
Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, is people are going to start jumping to Halo, because you're going to have 3 Halo games with multiplayer and private matches for that.
The new map.
Yeah, so I think they definitely need to do it before before the Master Chief Collection comes out.
Yeah, it'd be. I don't think Destiny is anything like Titanfall, but you did see that without having those private lobbies, you lost a lot of those players before. They didn't really care anymore about Titanfall by the time they came out.
Yeah.
So
yeah, which could potentially explain Destiny's rating with some websites or whatever. You know, the 6.5 or whatever. Because if you think about it, Destiny's awesome. The strikes are good. The gameplay is fun. You can play the same strikes over and over and over again. And then they have these things that come in every now and then, like Iron Banner and hopefully Trials of Osiris. But it lacked private match, and it lacked a real solid storyline, similar to a Halo game almost, you know?
So that kind of leaves you with a smaller group of gamer that is into the gear grind and the loot, you know.
Yeah, loot and shoot.
Right, exactly. And I just hope they can implement these. You know, these are like the small things that we can find wrong with the game right now.
Right.
But if they can fix these things, there's really not going to be much to complain about.
I think Destiny will grow to have like this giant cult-like following. I mean, Borderlands. Some people are still playing Borderlands all day long.
No, exactly. Yeah, I completely agree, and I'm crossing my fingers and telling other people to go and get in on it. You know, because I hope if this game can develop in a WoW-esque or Borderlands-esque community, you know, who knows what content we can get out of this. You know.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting.
I mean, yeah, you know, that's another thing is we haven't even actually seen, you know, all of the game. This is just the opening, you know, part. We still have Iron Banner. We still have the Trials of Osiris. We still have Vault of Glass to do, which, you know, speaking of Vault of Glass, you know, that comes out on Tuesday. Not really sure. I think, personally, that it comes out midnight, but, you know, Monday, Tuesday, midnight right there, which would be awesome.
I've heard reports it's 5 a.m. East for the Vault of Glass. So,
damn. I hope that's not true because I mean, I'll get up that early, but I don't want to.
Yeah, I saw that too. I saw it was 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, and then so on and so forth.
Nice. Yeah, that'd be kind of rough, but
yeah.
I mean, we'll see. I know I can't wait to get in on it because I can only imagine playing the strikes and the things we have now. And Bungie keeps saying that it's hard, and I mean, we played some of these strikes that were just a true struggle at some point. So I can only imagine what this is going to be like.
Yeah. Do you guys think it'll be a whole new experience, like a place we haven't seen yet, or an arena we haven't seen yet, or do you think it'll be more of just like terrain we've seen and enemies we've seen, and they're just harder?
I hope that it's something different.
Yeah, me too.
Because
I'm assuming the end boss will be something different. Probably ads and minor monsters, I think, are going to be things we've seen. But I think the end boss will probably be something that we've never encountered before, for sure.
Like, I'm hoping... Well, first of all, it says that it's level 26. Whenever you go to Venus and you look at it, it's locked right now, and it says level 26. So I'm hoping that it is something more than what we've seen. Like, even the ads, I'm hoping that they can still be, since it's on Venus, they could still be Vex-ish, but I would like to see like different types, like higher elites, and just something different. Like, you could throw in the ultras and stuff as the small ads, and then I'm hoping to see something tougher than that as
I think the biggest change we're going to see in the raids is the group movement mentality. If you've ever done a WoW raid on like a 10-man or 25-man, there's certain bosses that, this area of the map's going to burn up in fire. And then after that, this area of the map's going to burn up in fire. And you got to move your group from one place to another, keep everybody up, revive people that go down, and such. And I think that's going to be the biggest thing that we find in the Vault of Glass, is that the group movement mentality is going to be one of the more difficult things, hopping from one of these pads to the next, because they're going to be disappearing as we go through them. that was one of the parts that I read about. That you're going to be jumping on these sheets of glass. Your whole group gets to it, and then you got to jump to the next one before it disappears. Kind of like a platformer game style, and I think that's going to be very difficult for people to grasp right off the bat, unless they understand that besides DPSing and keeping people alive and whatnot, you're going to have to be moving in the right format and whatnot to get through the raid too. So I'm really excited for all those wipes,
Yeah, I totally agree, but I feel like a lot of people are going to miss out on that because they get, pissed off at the beginning. They're just going to quit out because they can't do it. Like Bungie said they had people come to their studio and try it out, and they couldn't even get to the final stage or something like that, and they were there for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Right. There's another thing though, on the app. When you look at your progression through the Vault of Glass, there's 4 stages of loot that you can earn. And so I've got the notion that you'll be able to get to checkpoints within the raid, and then come back to them, or I'm crossing my fingers that that's what's going to happen, based on those stages of loot that you can obtain. I think you'll be able to go back and, if we don't get all the way through it the first night, we can come back tomorrow night, and then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I just hope it's that way, because it'd be real hard. I believe in the Vault of Glass, when you wipe, you go back to orbit. You don't start back from a checkpoint. So if you had those loot checkpoints or final boss checkpoints where you've already cleared out this hall or that branch of the raid, and then when you go back into it, it's already been cleared until next week when it resets, I'm really hoping that's the format for the raid as well, because I don't know how many of us got 16 hours or whatnot to grind on it and figure out all the secrets. So.
Right. Well, I think even before we start the raid, the puzzles that you have to do to even unlock it, I think, that's going to be something different, because Bungie has straight out came out and said they're not going to tell us how to do it, that it's up to us, the community, to figure it out and to tell each other. So
right.
I think, whoever can figure that out the first is, basically going to be like an Uber god.
You know what?
Definitely. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? That'll probably be Dado, to be totally honest. I know he's part of Prime Guard and stuff, and, he makes those real complex videos. A lot of people love him. Some people don't like the videos, but majority of people love him a lot. Yeah. He gets real, intellectual in his videos, and he just goes on these crazy rants sometimes, but you got to love the guy and love his videos, and I'm sure he'll have a total walkthrough of the thing.
Yeah, I'm sure he will. I know Prime Guard has, I talked to a lot of the guys from Prime Guard. I know they have 3 teams ready to go.
And that was yesterday, so who knows what they got lined up after a full day of grinding today. So
yeah, and speaking of Prime Guard, I actually joined Prime Guard not too long ago, like about a week ago.
Nice. Congrats.
But I don't really know the guys that well at first. I know Rex, Justin, and stuff.
Yeah. So far, everyone that I've talked to, they're all pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had an ongoing joke that it was going to be probably either Prime Guard or Legends of Earth who's going to get it first, and we were joking that we were going to have to. It was going to be a race between the 2 of us. But who knows?
The 3 teams in the running, we'll be trying to not wipe too much, but
right.
I mean, it'd be awesome to see, Prime Guard or somebody we know in the community get it. Yeah. I just feel like there's a group of guys out there who we don't know about somewhere out there in the world.
Some team. It's going to be some team from Brazil. Watch. It's going to be some Brazilian clan, and
no one's going to know who the hell they are.
Exactly, and they're going to be the ones to get it, and we're all going to be sitting here struggling trying to get through it, and we finally get through it, and we think that we're the first ones through it, and then find out that these 13-year-old Brazilian kids from Sao Paulo are the ones that got it. Be like, what the hell?
I think Bungie said the first person or first group of people to get it, they'll have a statue in the game or something.
A monument, yes.
Yeah. So I think that'll be that'll be
I wonder
pretty
where they're gonna
epic.
throw that in the tower somewhere. I'm assuming.
See,
Yeah,
that's
I don't know.
probably, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it'd probably be. I don't know. Like, would it be in the first social area, or would you think it'd be in that Iron Banner area? Because if you put it anywhere outside of that main social area, not a lot of people travel to these other places all the time. So, like, where would you even put it?
It could always be on the ground. Like when
Yeah.
you spawn into the tower, it says something there, so it could be on the ground. I mean, it might not be a statue. It could be.
Yeah.
Right, true.
I would want a big fucking statue, to be honest.
Yeah, me too,
I
dude.
want to spawn in and I want to see my dude right there, and I want to see Impact right below it. I'd be like, yeah, that's me right there. And I
Who knows?
stand next to it all the time. Be like, take your pictures, guys.
Yeah, who knows? They could, delete one of the trees out and put the statue there. Like I'm looking at it now, trying to think of where it could go. It could go in the tree spot. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, they always could put it at, like, the entrance of the vault of glass. So once you go there, you see the people that have already conquered it, or whatever. Or the first.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that would actually be pretty cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And honestly, it'd be really cool to just come across it, like, buried in the sand on Mars or something. Just these crazy monuments of Guardians or something. Who
Right.
knows? It'd be,
See, that would actually be really cool if Bungie would do that for certain, like, specific achievements that either individuals or clans achieve. Like if they would just randomly throw them a monument or a statue or a plate somewhere in the game random that
That's definitely a way to keep a community involved.
yeah, so
Yeah.
and people stumble across it, be like, oh, who's this guy? And then, it gives them their name or whatever and whatever achievement they accomplished. I think something like that would be really neat and would definitely keep people involved, I guess.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. But I don't know, man. Part of me feels that the first person or group that beats the Vault of Glass, if they put their names, their PSN IDs on there, I feel like people are just gonna hack them or send them messages like just bashing them. And I hope that doesn't happen. I hope the positive community congratulates them and stuff. But there's always going to be those trolls who are like, kill yourself and blah blah blah.
Yeah, I haven't really experienced that much on Destiny. I think that's because it could
There
be
is a more mature, I think, or gamers. Even though it got the teen rating, I still find that it's just because the game is pretty difficult to understand and grasp and learn all the different discrepancies between the abilities and whatnot. I think it is kind of a more mature World of Warcraft, adult Halo players. I do find that it is a lot more adults, a lot more work, like guys with 9 to 5s and stuff that are getting on to Destiny, just like the smaller, younger age crowd.
Yeah.
I feel like though, if Destiny grows, and it comes this giant game, I feel like your middle schoolers are gonna pick it up like around Christmas time or like later on in the fall because all their friends are playing it, and then that's when the whole younger community comes in.
Yeah, well, it's typically with any game you get your Christmas noobs, and it's usually going to be the kids because all the adults can buy it on day one. So
yeah, and I don't mind kids playing the game. I mean, it is a T-rated game, that's cool and everything, but a lot of times kids are screaming and yelling, and
that's what like set the clan to like 18 and over, just because we talk about mature. I mean, not mature, but talk about more adult things and everything, but like we don't want like any like squeaking, like shrieking kid, like
Yeah, I mean, but there are those cool kids,
Of course.
Right, yeah, we do have exceptions for like I think we're actually like 16 plus. I think that.
Yeah.
But
well, I approved
regardless,
like a 15-year-old kid today because he he was just like, I'm just trying to play competitively, get an advantage, hang with people, and like, so I'm not against playing with kids, but I definitely see what you guys are saying.
Yeah, I just don't want those kids that like they say fuck just to say it and be cool, and it's like, okay, you're annoying, when they just say stupid things just to sound cool. Yeah. And and they rage ridiculously, and it's like I can understand raging when there's a valid rage point, but when you're just doing it like all the time for petty things, it's like, kid, shut up.
But at a certain point, you're gonna find that if you play the game very seriously or at a competitive level with the community, that you're not gonna be playing the things that the low level squeakers and stuff will be playing. You know, the guys that are gonna be running, the teenagers that are gonna be running the Vault of Glass are the kids that you probably want to play with because they know more than you or something like that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the content that the experienced MMO player is looking forward to in the Vault of Glass, you automatically you have to have some friends to play with because there is no matchmaking. So with that said, you know, you're gonna have to have a group of people that you feel that you can actually communicate well with, not get mad at each other and frustrated on the 10th wipe of the night. You know what I mean? And if you've ever played WoW and tried to like play, I was trying to get through like ICC content, like the night it would come out and stuff with our clan, and we would wipe for 6 hours, you know, before we finally figured out the fight that got us into the boss. You know what I mean? And then we'd wipe for another 6 hours after that fighting the boss. So I look forward to that progression. I look forward to that challenge and that wipe. But just because having that one piece of gear that nobody else has on the game is a great feeling, you know what I mean? And it's one of the more rewarding things that you can get out of an online MMO, knowing that you're just better than other people and you know it for sure. So I really look forward at that. But then again, good luck. You know, if you're a casual gamer, good luck finding 5 friends that you feel like you can attempt it, you know, unless you get super geared. But right off the bat, I doubt that the casual gamers are even going to appreciate the work that goes into the Vault of Glass.
Yeah, and maybe that's what explains the the bad review or whatever, is maybe they didn't play it with their friends. They're just reviewers playing by themselves.
Exactly. Any review that came out in 24 hours about Destiny, I didn't really feel like it was valid, just because there's so much still more to come. If you're just doing, I kind of looked at the reviews on Destiny right off the bat of day one reviews of what they thought. But really, I think to really get a good review on the game, you're gonna have to play it for a good 2 weeks, I would say, to get a good exposure.
I mean, I played for, what was it? I played from 12:45 from the midnight launch till 4:30 the next day. Like, not from 12:45 to 4:30 a.m. to a complete so what was that, 28 hours, 29 hours, something like that, straight, like almost 30 hours straight, and I still didn't even
get into a lot of the hard content by then.
I was still
20s or 21s.
Yeah, I think we just broke 20, and it was like we were just starting to get into the good stuff, you know.
Yeah, the game.
It's like, for those people that, you know, they write these reviews and, you know, they probably got their character to level 10 or something. It's like, how can you even write a review when you haven't even really played the game?
Yeah, the game, to me, I mean, it really begins at level 20 or the end of the storyline or whatever. That's when it really begins. You just start getting rares. You might get a legendary, you know, and then that's when you start getting light and you build up to light. I mean, I'm at 24 right now.
Yeah, you get the fever. You get the fever once once that purple Ingram drops or that blue Ingram drops and it's an upgrade, you just want to go farm more. And it has that Diablo or World of Warcraft-esque feel where the game actually begins once you max level, and the leveling part of the game is kind of less. They want you to go through that process to learn your character. But then once you get to 20 and you're really starting to in-game gear yourself, I think that's where you can appreciate how much work has gone into the harder difficulties of each story mission and Strike and Heroics and Nightfall and the Vault of Glass. You have to run so many of the minor missions to be able to run the higher missions that getting those Ingrams and whatnot, it's the grind, you know. It's the reason we're going to keep getting on and playing these same missions over and over, is those Ingrams, you know. So to me, I can't wait, you know. And I don't know about y'all, but I went and did the reputation grinds. Or I'm starting them. I got to Dead Orbit 2, Vanguard 1.5 something, and it's to me it's paid off doing those reputation grinds because you can just buy those legendaries and it boosts your light so much. I'm actually up to the point now where I'm waiting on. I have to farm Ascendant shards to upgrade my legendaries to get myself any more light because I have legendaries and I don't have any legendary weapons, but I got legendary armors and just through the reputation grind. So if you're stuck on that like 23 or 24, get a couple buddies, go do patrols for an hour, and you know, try to just grind those reputations, and that's the easiest way, in my opinion, to get a legendary that's an upgrade.
Yes, speaking of the Vanguard and Crucible and whatever, I just wish you could get 150 Crucible marks or something to purchase a weapon or something of value. Like, I know you can get armor, but people want weapons.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's another one of those ways that they're gonna, you know, keep people logging on consistently.
Yeah,
each
for
week
sure.
on release nights and whatnot, and the next day it's going to be a big night for Destiny, in that WoW fashion. And I think that in game, if I look at that as an in-game procedure to make sure that we have challenging content to keep attempting and playing until the DLC comes out. Like, I think that would be the end game there, so that we just don't go and max our characters out in the first 48 hours and whatnot, and then we're just waiting for the DLC for more challenging content. I think by keeping us at a restriction for a certain period of time, it's going to make sure that by the time that we're uber gods at this particular game, the DLC is going to hit, and then we're noobs again. You know, that would be my method if I was Bungie. But then again, it does kind of hurt that I maxed out in Crucible marks, and now I really don't have the reason to go play Crucible unless I have a bounty or something. You know, for reputation grind. But yeah, I think that's the in-game idea. It makes sense that way to me. But other than that, yeah, it does. You know, I bought one piece of gear from the Dead Orbit faction, and then I only had 35 marks left in that one. And so then I immediately just started grinding the Vanguard marks, so I can use those marks for the one other piece of gear. And but once you get the legendaries, you wait on materials. You got to start farming those really high materials that are rare. And a lot of times I find that I get materials that I don't need that are still high-end materials, but it's not the particular one I need. You know, so it's definitely going to take a long time to get your character maxed out and geared the way you think is perfect, for sure.
Yeah, I think they should have other ways of getting like the Ascendant materials. You know, I just did a video on those, and they're not easy to come by, like you're saying. You really have to grind, you know, and struggle to get them. And I think that there should be a way to where you can get them that's still kind of a struggle, but not as bad. Like, say if you want to, like, 5,000 glimmer for one Ascendant shard. You know, I think something like that, that's a lot of glimmer, but it's still, you're still going to have to at least grind
Keeps
for
the progression a little bit faster, maybe.
Yeah, you're still going to have to grind for the glimmer or the shard, but this way you're not just waiting on a random reward, because that's what it is. It's random. You're not sure you're going to get it every time. It's not like, okay, I'm going to go fight, I'm going to go do this strike because I know I'm going to get it. That's not true. You know, like we found out earlier, you know, we did 2 strikes before the cast, and only one of them turned out with any shards, and the other one we didn't even get anything, not even so much as a thank you. So it's like, I think that either the game...
And see, that's based on the daily and the weekly as well, getting those Ascendant materials and whatnot. So that's another way that they're limiting our progression, you know, and in that timing scheme. but I also do. I've seen people that have crazy gear already and have leveled it up. So that just means they're upping their chance of getting that random item by grinding those harder things exclusively.
Yeah.
And it's, to me, there's so many different things that we're going to be spending these different currencies on that I think, like, in the progression I've gotten in a week, it would seem like in a week from now, I'll be able to buy a piece of gear from each little area that I would like to. Like maybe one piece from the black market guy with my moats, and maybe one piece with the strange coins by then, because I've gotten about half of what I need up to this point. So, you know, you're looking at maybe one more week, you're going to be hitting some huge upgrades if you keep doing the, you know, a good grind until then.
Yeah.
I did find a pretty awesome method for doing those reputation grinds. Go ahead and get, you know, yourself and 2 buddies, go into patrol mode, and then each of you go to a separate area on that world and just start picking up all the patrol missions, right? But you don't leave your area. You just let your teammates see who's the closest to it. And by doing that, you'll cut down all of that driving time and whatnot that comes with a lot of those patrol missions, and you can really farm rep quickly that way, especially if you know, you got 3 guys that kind of know the area and know those missions. You can run through 10 in 10 minutes, you know, and you're looking at a couple hundred reputation points right there.
Yeah, and I don't think I don't think it's a bad thing that they've limited our progression, because if you think about it, if, you know, a guy who says doesn't work or sits at home all day and plays all day long, I mean,
Right.
he could have all the exotics right now, and the guy who plays casually would be terrible. And then the Iron Banner comes around, and the guy with exotics just destroys everyone else.
Right, everybody feels discouraged and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I look at it as there's definitely an in-game plan for the way that they have these things released. And what I'm really interested in is, you know, we've gotten a week to look at all this cool gear that we want to buy. Next week, do you think they're going to cycle out what the vendors have, like what some of the Vanguard vendors have? Like, we could buy Red Death this week or whatever from the black market character, right?
Yeah.
So the next time he comes back, is he going to have something completely different, and we got to wait for him to bring Red Death back around again? Or, you know,
I think it's going to be different. I think each time he stops in, it's going to be different items, because I think it would get boring real quick to just see the same things, because if you get the 1 or 2 items,
I completely agree, but I think a lot of people this week have been looking at those items and have gotten their heart set and are, you know, starting those grinds for certain things. And then, you know, next week there's going to be a whole nother list of things in there, and you got to, you know, debate yourself on, do I want to wait, you know, for this particular exotic to come back through the black market, or do I want to just go ahead and buy the one he's got this week for the light progression, or the weapon, you know? Or
Yeah. Do you guys think the factions, you know, the equipment, gear, and the faction vendors, you think those will change? Because if they don't, that'll be really disappointing, because when Destiny, you know, first started off, you know, before they even released gameplay or something like that, they had the GDC trailers or GDC conference, and they talked about how they made the guns interchangeable, and you could have potentially millions of combinations of guns. So people were like, oh, sweet, Destiny's going to have a lot of guns like Borderlands. And then the game comes around, and we don't have millions of guns. We have like a couple hundred.
Right. I see. It depends on what your definition of a different gun is, you know, because they could, you know, they have the same helmet with 4 or 5 different Roman numerals after it, with different stats and different things. Does that mean that that's one helmet, or, you know, 5 different helmets, or 10 different helmets based on the stats? I think that a lot of the beauty of this game is, if for for most MMOs, when you build a progress your character, you're gonna have something that you stack, a skill or an attribute that you want more of than anything else. And I find that the gear that they have at the Vanguard and at the different factions is really going to be suited for one subclass or the others, the armors. I found that like Dead Orbit had strength and the main stat that the other stat you would want. So that would be more of a tank or a melee type character that you're going to be using that strength a lot more for your melees and whatnot. But then if you went over to New Monarchy, they would have like an intellect and your main stat. So you found that would probably be somebody that's wanting to throw a lot of grenades or throw the throwing knives a lot faster or something like that, So I think you kind of need to choose your gear from there based on the subclass and the build that you're going to be going off of as well, which then that's once again a whole bunch of avenues of re-grinding certain things and getting enough crucible marks this week to do something else, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had my gear, because I'm a hunter, so by default I was gunslinger, and so most of my gear was to build up my my super. And I think I'm not 100% sure, but I think the golden gun and the blade dancer, between intellect, discipline, and strength, I think they're different. I want to say that the golden gun used discipline, but the blade dancer uses
Right.
strength. And
No, they are interchangeable.
and I think because, well, one, the blade dancer is a melee attack, so you need strength to make it more effective versus the golden gun, which you really don't. So that was something that I had to do whenever I switched over to my subclass or whatever, is that I had to make sure that whenever I was choosing gear that I was choosing it with strength. And I tried to do it in moderation, like I wanted strength and discipline, because discipline does my cooldowns.
Try to be balanced.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, discipline does my cooldowns and strength does my supers. So I wanted to make sure I got a nice little balance in there. But yeah, that's something that I think people are going to have to pay attention to, is if you switch to your subclass, then you're basically going to have to re-gear, depending on, I'm not sure about the other ones.
To get the most out
Yeah,
of that subclass.
exactly.
Yes, I agree. And that's why I think they had those different like the same tier of gear, just with completely different stats. And I think that was for the different subclasses to be the most powerful build, that you would have something, on your sword dancer or whatever, or your shadow dancer, having a ton of strength on top of your intellect or discipline would be a benefit for your super, and the same with the warlock. If you have a ton of intellect, you can just be cranking off those really good nades a lot faster. So I think you have to have your build in mind when it comes to selecting that in-game gear, especially if you're looking to further yourself and not kind of shoot yourself in the foot and found out that, man, I really didn't need this piece of gear, I should have bought that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's where factions kind of come into play with stats too. People kept asking me before the game, or when the beta was out, they're like, how do you join a faction? How do you join a faction? Well, technically you don't really join a faction. You kind of just buy the gear, but certain gear is for, like, say a warlock chest piece is for, from Future War Cult is going to give you more ammo for your fusion rifle. But the Dead Orbit's going to focus maybe on auto rifles, and New Monarchy maybe on snipers. So whatever gun you use is kind of which faction you want to join or which gear you want to buy.
I completely agree. Like, I think that I'm so tired of having gear that has like hand cannon ups on it, but I never use a hand cannon,
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that's definitely another one of those things that you got to be paying attention at when you're getting on this in-game gear.
Yeah. Well, it also, to go back to weapons or whatever, is another thing is you got to pay attention to the archetypes, because what we were talking about earlier, when I got the zombie apocalypse heavy machine gun the other day, and then I just got it again today from a legendary engram. and well, you can't exactly dual wield them, so the other one's kind of pointless. But I went ahead and looked at it, and the stats are just slightly different. I know some of the mods are different, and each weapon potentially has different variations within the different archetypes. I don't have it with me right now. I just did a video on it today, but there's different archetypes for each weapon. There's like balanced, lightweight, precision, rapid, and for fusion rifles and snipers, there's marksman, and each one has different stats and weapon trees that you can upgrade. So like if you get one weapon and you're like, oh, okay, well, it's got, I don't know, some stat on there that isn't really relevant to you, and then you get another one later on, and before you just go and dismantle it, you definitely want to read into the talent tree and see what's on it, because the likelihood is it's going to be different. Either the mods are going to be different or the stats are going to be slightly different. And that's something that I know.
So having two of the same item isn't really a bad thing, because that item is definitely going to come in handy for particular fights.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw someone on their Destiny subreddit was saying he got an exotic, and the talent tree or upgrade tree for the exotic armor or weapon, it required you to dismantle a specific weapon, as in rare fusion rifles. You had to dismantle 20 rare fusion rifles to, like get the power to somehow upgrade this fusion rifle.
See, I hadn't heard that, but that makes, like, I just look forward to that grind. Just that's just another grind that you're gonna have to do.
Yep.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, like imagine trying to get 20 fusion rifles. Oh my god.
Right.
I would probably drop like 20K just on the Cryptarch or at the gunsmith or something.
Yeah, and see, that's the thing with the Cryptarch is well, right now, I think Cryptarch rank 6, and I haven't seen blues yet, and I'm level 25, rank 6.
That's crazy. I'm pulling like blues at level 3. It's so funny. It's so random, I believe, that you don't really have at this point. They might refresh his stock, and you can buy a level 3 Cryptarch blue for like 1,500. But at this point, you're only getting greens and whites. And even then, I would buy 10 greens at a time, nothing, and then buy one an hour later and get a blue. So I've gotten a couple blues even without having a high Cryptarch level. So I think it's a random kind of thing.
Yeah, and I wish Bungie would have explained this more. Like how does loot work? When you're with a fire team, and how does it work when you're by yourself? And how does Glimmer work when you're with a fire team? And how does it work when you're by yourself? Or even loot or rewards in a PvP. Like sometimes you see the guy who does the worst in the map, and the match will get an exotic weapon, and you do the best, and you get nothing.
Yeah, that has actually happened to us. I think it was I was on the shitty end of the stick as far as talent based goes. I think we were playing PvP, and I went like a 0.4 KD, and I ended up getting the legendary engram.
Yeah, I think a little light being shined in on that would be nice. I did find that, like, say you're doing a big strike and you didn't pick up an engram, they do have a feature where they'll mail you that engram. It's not just laying there for eternity or whatever until you walk back. They'll mail it to you, and I was like, man, that's cool, because I was worried about that for like the first 10 hours we played. I was like, man, I hope I haven't left anything on the ground.
Yeah, because I was wondering about that too, because it's like, well, what if someone overlooks it, or you don't see it, because sometimes you don't see them, like they're hidden in a piece of grass or something, and you can't see it, or if at the end of the fight you got like that 20-second countdown timer, and if you can't find it in time, I was always afraid I was going to see it and then run up on it as the time expired, and I was going to lose it. But it's cool. It's cool to see that. Yeah, they mail it back to you. So.
Did you guys already? I'm sorry. Did you mention the exotic sniper? Did you mention
which exotic sniper? I don't believe so. No. No.
Okay, so I just read this. Someone put it in the Skype. It's from this Destiny subreddit. So someone was doing salvage missions in the Crucible, and I got into a game where my 2 teammates dropped immediately, leaving me 3-1. Bravo team decided the best way to capitalize on this was to triple team me and then dance on my corpse. Stayed through the match to the end, ended up scoring 900 to their 10,000, but then he got an exotic sniper rifle called Patience and Time.
Wow.
And I just looked at it, and it says that the special abilities, you gain active camouflage while aiming down the sights.
Oh my god, that's magical.
Crazy.
That's pretty cool, and that's a cool reward. I wonder if it just happened to be that he stuck around in the game because he had patience and time, or
if it was
just coincidence. But I don't think there's very many coincidences, you know. So
that's crazy. We need to do that. Yeah, we're gonna have to play some PvP, and then you guys drop out and let me win.
All right. Well, good luck.
No, I mean, it's so cool. He was having a terrible time. He was probably getting crushed by the enemy, and then all of a sudden he gets rewarded this awesome exotic, and everyone on the other team was probably pissed.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. You know, they're all like, "Oh, we killed him. Why did he?" You know. But,
yeah.
If you look at it from that perspective, I could see you doing worse on the team and you happen to get the best reward being really a pick-me-up at the end of that game. You know what I mean? And you want to play another one because you're like, oh, dang, I just got a legendary. Let's keep getting more. You know,
right. Well, that actually brings me to a point where Bungie had said a while ago, actually, that that you'll be rewarded for things you do in the game, such as, I guess, that. One thing that stuck out is if you were getting sniped all the time by a sniper in a PvP match, and then you finally are able to take him out, they said that you'll get rewarded for things like that. And I think that it might be possible that the way that the game rewards, how like some players get something and other players don't, I think it possibly, I mean, I don't know, but
might be achieving those little,
like if say you're the slayer for the team and you do all, basically carry the team, then you're likely to be the one to get, some of the better, I don't know, what do you call it, end rewards for that match or whatever. It doesn't seem to always work out that way, because I know sometimes, like if we're playing and you basically slay everybody and I'm usually, an objective player, sometimes I'll get something and you won't, and vice versa. So, but I remember them saying something similar to that,
No, I do remember that. I also think that it's going to be one of those things where, what if you wiped 15 times with your friends on this one strike or something, and then you finally beat it for the first time? Those first rewards you get are probably better than the rewards you're going to get the second time you do it and the third time you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
basically,
like those...
Go ahead. Oh, okay. So basically, just let's all of us suck, and then let's see if we get any exotics, and then there you go.
Right.
Sure.
Just run through the entire strike and melee only.
Impact's got that already covered, so he's got a head start on us on that.
Pretty much. But actually, we're coming close to an hour now, so.
Are we about to wrap up?
Yeah.
What would you like to add, VK?
Okay, so prepare to have your minds blown. So, you remember when in Halo you used to fall off the map?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you said
killed by the Guardians?
Yeah.
So what if you're like getting killed by the Guardians from Destiny?
Yeah, exactly, dude.
Pretty intense.
Alright, wait, one more thing to add. So, you know how it's really fun to jump on stuff in the tower? Like, it's just something that I've seen people doing. I have found that people are taking so much time figuring out cool places to position their people in the tower that, like, I legitimately took an hour and a half to figure out how a guy got onto a beam in the tower the other day, and I was like, man, this reminds me a lot of Halo, trying to figure out how to do a super jump. Like you saw somebody do it, and you're like, well, he's in this corner or something, let's figure out what he did, And it's funny how, like, those same things that I did in Halo have come back full circle back to Destiny.
Yep.
So it's hilarious.
Yep, definitely. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, my favorite place. What I do is I'll get on top of the canopy on near the gunsmith, and I'll just dance up there, and everyone will try to get up there, and they can't.
Oh, and isn't it so gratifying when you just see everybody like failing, hitting their face on like the end of the thing, and you're just sitting there dancing or whatever, pointing at them as they fail. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. I found out that you can't jump on ships when they land. I
Nope,
tried to do that the other day, and that was an epic
They're
failure.
they're holograms actually. You just kind of like fall through them.
Yep.
One of my favorite things to do is to get people, that like to stand on the edge of like the little spikes or whatever they come out. I love to run out there and push them off. If they're in your fire team, they're like you can push them around. They're physical.
Yep.
So I love pushing my friends off the map and off the stuff when they're like away from the controller or something. It's a lot of fun pushing them with your shooter.
You can kill your fire team members with your sparrow because I found that out courtesy of Prodigy. He ran me into a wall and I died. And I was sitting there. I don't remember what I was doing. I think I was looking at my ghost and trying to figure out the nav points or whatever. And the next thing you know, I hear, psst, boom! And I just fucking flew into the wall and died. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But
these are the times that really make the game fun.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of sparrow races, that was another thing
Yeah,
I wanted
was
to talk
just gonna
about.
mention that. Yeah.
Sparrow races
They
would be
need
awesome.
that. They need
Mars and the moon so far. Venus would be cool too, but there's certain points that have a lot of clutter. But definitely the moon and Mars would be just pure epicness for sparrow races.
You think Destiny will ever get a forge?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, well, first
Maybe.
they would need private
It's
lobbies.
a part. That's a part of the game that they're very experienced in, though.
Yeah.
If you think about it, they kind of started it. So, if they were gonna, think about things that they could implement well, that they're good at, that might be one of the big pluses that they do. Maybe a card that they are holding in their deck right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think something like that would be cool. I remember doing Halo 3. I think it was Halo 3 Forge, where it was a map and it was literally you had this area and there was a bridge and then another area and you couldn't move from those areas unless you wanted to go out onto the bridge, and it was just basically a shoot and die fest. That's all it was. It was probably the coolest, most simple map. I mean, you spawned and you're literally just a bridge away from each other. You can't get away. You can only strafe, and you had to try and kill each other before somehow
Like
you didn't die.
Good strafe practice and headshot practice and whatnot.
Pretty much. Like, that's all it was, and I was like, this is probably one of the craziest things I've ever seen. It was so simple and so fun. So
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say at the beginning of Destiny, like not the beginning of the game, but beginning like when it was in Inception or whatever. They talked about this machine, this map builder called. I just looked it up. Grognok. They made a whole video on this map builder. So I don't know. Maybe one day you could have like a forge-like thing, and it'd be called Grognok or something. And you might not be able to manipulate the map really, but maybe you can put checkpoints, say for sparrow races or something like that.
Yeah.
With the development that has been being implemented in these new games like Grand Theft Auto and whatnot, like it's really like the companies would really, it really benefits them because you get some of these people that are creative geniuses and that can make an amazing race that the community loves and enjoys, and then they get to profit off of that essentially. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So basically, they hire the community for free.
No, exactly, and the community loves it, and the company in turn will enjoy it as well. So I think that would be another thing besides just the private lobbies that they could implement to really bring Bungie up to like that 10 out of 10. That, and there's only a few things that they could possibly do. I know a big complaint was the repetitiveness of like one mission on the moon, you walk across the moon to the right, and then the next mission you walk across the moon to the left. The same terrain, the same path, kind of. And I actually see them probably changing that or tweaking that a little bit more in the DLC based on how many of those negative reviews they got for that reason. I think that was pretty much the biggest complaint I heard was that you just walk over the same paths a lot of the time instead of getting new paths for every mission. You share the same paths for 3 or 4 missions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I could definitely see them implementing more of like a chain storyline for DLC instead of having this kind of like spider. You can go from one mission to the other mission, and you have to go across the same areas.
Yeah. Before we wrap up, VK, did you guys have anything sweet over there at Dispatch? I know you did Cinema Saturday.
Yeah, that's only the thing that they've honestly just been playing a lot and just talking about it mainly.
Yeah,
Before they.
Yeah.
I think that's everybody.
I can post
It's
a link for Saturday for sure. I'm not quite sure what they're working on yet. I think they're waiting for the vault to open. I'm not really sure.
Do you do the Cinema Sunday or whatever?
Yeah, I published it on Saturday on Dispatch.
Oh, Cinema Saturday. Okay, my bad. Yeah, I've seen that
Sunday,
before.
I might have posted. No, I posted Sunday on LOE. Yeah,
Oh,
I cross posted it. Yeah, sorry, that's probably kind of confusing. Yeah, I wrote that for the site.
But yeah, VK is the writer over there. Our editor. Are you editor and writer?
I guess so. Yeah.
Hey, shoot, man. Well, add me in some of those Cinema Saturdays or Sundays or fun days.
Yeah, dude, for sure. Yeah, people in Cinema Saturdays are really sick too. Like, you should definitely check out. Like, there's this one guy that from Dispatch that does videos. My name is Biff. Have you seen his videos?
Yeah, but yeah.
That dude is good. Like, seriously. Like, you would be so like I wasn't surprised because there's a lot of good YouTubers. But, like, guys like I didn't even know he was with Dispatch for a while. Like, I thought he was just like Dado.
The quality is very high level. I agree.
Yeah. Seriously, he knows his stuff, man. But yeah.
Yo, I remember when Dado played for Obey.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like, it was a while ago, but I remember it. I just kind of laughed because whenever I first seen him on Destiny, I was like, "Wait, is that?" And then I went and looked it up, and I was like, "Oh shit, it is!" I was like, "That's too funny."
Wait, what's Obey? I've never heard of that.
Really?
An old Call of Duty team.
Yeah, Obey. Yeah.
And what's funny is like his MLG picture from back in the day makes him look so funny. I love it. If you haven't seen his old MLG picture, go Google it. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Was his name Bife back then or no?
No, we're talking about Dado.
It should be under Dado.
Yeah,
okay.
Obey Dado.
Okay.
Yeah.
You check this out.
Yeah, it's a good time, but yeah, I guess on that note, we're in it at about an hour and 15 minutes now, so I want to get back to playing some Destiny.
Yeah, that's like the biggest break I've taken from Destiny in a couple of days. So
yeah, exactly. So I want to thank everyone for coming out. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can follow Chris over at his channel. I'll put a link in the description, or follow him on Twitter, and you'll see it on the screen. And want to thank First Step Pro Wellness for sponsoring us, and thank Chris for coming out. Appreciate.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a great time, Chris.
Exactly.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
So yeah, I guess with that said, we will talk to you guys next week, or we'll see you around maybe in some multiplayer. So, peace, guys.
See ya.